Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Young Lawyer Podcast. For all those newbies listening in, this podcast discusses topics such as studying law, mental states, mindsets, dealing with external factors, and unexpected circumstances. Along the way, having guest speakers such as senior associates, graduate lawyers, and students. Now let's get into it.
Alrighty, well, welcome to the Young Lawyer Podcast. It's fantastic to have you on. You can just start by introducing yourself to the listeners and how you began your legal journey.
Thanks, Damon. My name is Jemma Barnard, and I am a lawyer at Travis Schultz and Partners on the Sunshine Coast. We practice predominantly in injury and compensation law, and I was admitted in July this year, so just a couple of months ago, but have worked for Travis for almost 2 years now.
And I guess, how did you get into becoming a lawyer? Was it started in high school, or did you do something you fell into as a job, or how did that begin?
Gosh, I can't really pinpoint the time when I first thought that I wanted to be a lawyer, but I do remember when I was probably about 12, 13 years old, I caught the tail end of Erin Brockovich on the television, and I was blown away actually by her. I thought she was the most fabulous woman. So probably maybe, early teens was when I first thought, I want to be a lawyer. I want to fight the good fight. But look, I mean, my journey's been, so long. I sort of dipped my toe in at the start of, at the end of high school, I suppose, and went to university for about a year. And then I deferred and left it for a while and thought, I just want to go and get a job and earn a bit of money, go traveling. So I left it probably maybe about 2 or 3 years before I went back seriously. At the time I was working, I was in body corporate management at the time, and so that was a full-time job. And so I sort of eased back into studying online, which was wonderful, but really hard work at the same time, because all of your spare time, weekends before and after work, are taken up with watching lectures and studying whatnot. So it probably took me, I think 6 years really before I actually properly finished. So a long journey.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common progress really. We get to about that 18, we're just like, we want freedom, we go out, we go travelling. And
absolutely.
Kind of come back to uni later, because I was similar. I went down to uni, I was doing physio at that stage. And I was like, I only went down because my mates were doing it. I had really no interest in it.
Yeah.
Got down there and realised you got to do chemistry and physics and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, this is something.
Yeah.
And then I come back and fell into a job and just went from law from there. And how did you, I guess, find landing on your feet going back to uni at that stage? Was it difficult?
Really difficult. And I think that it's tremendously challenging, especially when you've been working for so long and you're used to having that time after work and having your weekend spare to do whatever you wanted. And I found it was really hard work. I found it, I really had to push through that time. But I mean, it's worth it absolutely in the end. I mean, now I look back and go, oh my gosh, how did I do all of that? All those years of missing out on birthdays and nights out, especially in your early 20s. But look, I mean, as I said, really, really difficult. But in saying that, when you are so passionate about something and when you really turn your mind, make that decision to commit, I think you just find this inner strength, don't you, and just push through it and know that there is an end in sight. And, this isn't forever. It's certainly something that will take up so much time now. But, once you finish uni, if you're fortunate enough to get a job straight away after university, that learning, that tough stuff just keeps going. But it's got a different tinge to it now. It's so much more practical, so much more real life situations. You're dealing with real clients with real problems. And so, it just inspires me to keep learning, to keep being motivated, and to keep reading the law.
It's fantastic. And, when you look back now, it's just like you don't even really know what you're stressed at, because you're sitting there going, I've got to sign a due, I left it till last minute, I'm so stressed.
Yeah.
You look back now, you're like, it's nothing compared to like what you've got to do in actual practice.
Yeah. But it's just, I think it's different because you've got a real client on the end of the phone, and you've got someone that's really depending on you and that they're really looking to you for your expertise. And so I think that while the learning doesn't stop and certainly the pressure doesn't lift, for me personally, I've just found that I've got this new sort of a lease on life in terms of being able to really keep that mental capacity going.
It's interesting. And, well, I was going to bring it up, but the admission story.
Oh, goodness. I've pushed that to the back of my mind.
I had to bring it up.
Gosh, so yes, very stressful, which I imagine, it is for everyone. I mean, you come to the end of uni. I think I was probably maybe my third or fourth year when it dawned on me that I had to do PLT and go through this admission process. So it wasn't something that I'd really thought a lot about, to be honest. But yes, so finished, I was in a way fortunate enough to have completed PLT over the lockdown period at the start of this year. So I couldn't go out or do anything anyway. So I really had no excuse but to do PLT. So I managed to finish that. And at that point, we had all come back into the office. And so I was able to draft all my admission documents. And so I spent, as I'm sure everyone does, hours poring over my application. Have I done everything right? Have I signed all the pages? Have I ticked all the boxes? And I went down, filed it. At that time, there was some change in the process because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And anyhow, so it all got lodged, and so I was thinking, right, but on this particular day, I must file my affidavit of compliance. So I've been working on it. I'm ready to go. Right, about 2 days before the date that I had to file it, I was ready to go down to the court to file it. And I'd got a call on my direct line in the office, and so I answered the phone, and the lady on the other side of the phone, she said, "Oh, hello, my name is I can't remember now, but she said, I'm from the
Admissions board?
Yes, the admissions board." And she said, "Are you sitting down?" She said, "You're going to be really upset." And I just thought, what have I done? And anyhow, so she explained to me that when I had very first started my law degree, I started it in Griffith University down in Brisbane. And I completed about 4 subjects. And so, as I said, I deferred, came back a couple of years later, but had picked up study at University of Southern Queensland. So I'd applied at the USQ to get a number of these subjects that I'd completed at Griffith credited. So that was fine. It happened. It was all good. And so I graduated. I had my law degree. And she said that there was a problem with my credits that I'd received at Griffith because there was a certain amount of criminal procedure in first year that I hadn't completed at Griffith, but that USQ had credited it to me anyway. So essentially, long story short, she told me, "Your law degree is insufficient." And I said, "What do you mean? I've got it here, Bachelor of Laws. It has my name on it. I've got the piece of paper." And she said, "Yeah, it's not sufficient. You have to do a course." And so essentially, I had about a week to do a course. Anyway, so I think I had done a lot of last minute late night assignments before, but gosh, this was stepping it up to a whole new level. I just cracked on, got through it, crammed as much as I could. I had to sit an exam online, and wait with bated breath for the results to come out. Anyway, it was all fine, all worked out at the end. I had to send this completion certificate to the board and file my affidavit. And then essentially that was fine. I remember on admissions day, I'm waiting for my name to be called, and I'm going, is there going to be a problem? Because I think everyone sits there, don't they? And they go, "Oh, I'm trying to examine my past again. Am I sure that I haven't done anything naughty?" But anyhow, all was fine in the end. But goodness gracious, that was just such a stressful time. But as I said before, when you love something, you put your mind to it, and you say, yes, this is what I want to do, I think you just find that inner strength, that inner motivation just to get through it. I think law grads, I think law students are just, of another kind or another breed. I think the things that we do, and the content that, we have to wade through at uni. So I think, everyone that comes out of law school has a badge of honor that they should wear really proudly, because it is so tough, so hard. And yes, anyway, long story short, here I am waiting for them to come knocking on my door, but they haven't yet.
Take back your bachelor's degree.
Yes, gosh.
Yeah, that's such an interesting progression. Yeah, couldn't imagine how stressful it would be sitting in the Brisbane court going, oh, please don't do it. Please don't do it in front of everyone. And like you touched on passion a lot, I guess. How did you end up finding that law was the actual passion for you? And I guess what, just sticks you around and makes you want to stay passionate about it?
Yeah. So I had been working in body corporate management for a while, and I had a really great opportunity there. And I had enjoyed it for a while, but kept coming back to, I do want to be a lawyer. I do want to help people. I do want to be able to shine some light on and advocate for someone, in their time of need. And so I managed to get a job in a law firm, and that was a brilliant opportunity. And we had, at that time, I was doing a lot of property work, a lot of conveyancing, sort of transactional work, and then I started to pick up a little bit of commercial litigation with another solicitor there. And then we had, probably at that time, maybe 3 files that were personal injury type files. So we had one motor vehicle accident, so a CTP claim, and then we had a workers' compensation matter, and then we had a medical negligence matter. And so out of, maybe the 50 files that I sort of worked on, those 3 were my favourite. I just loved it. Loved them. Loved the law. I loved the intricacies of personal injury compensation law. I just would look forward to when a bring up came up for those matters, and I could work on it and read what the barrister said, and I just loved it. And the workers' compensation matter that ended up going to trial, but I just loved it. It just opened my eyes completely to that area of law. I think before that, I'd not really entertained that idea, or not really thought, oh yeah, that's the area I want to go in. I certainly got that first job and thought, I just want to expose myself to everything and maybe make a decision down the track. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to end up doing. And yeah, as I said, just loved it. And so around that time, Travis had just started Travis Schultz Law, as it was known back then. And I had known that Travis was just one of the leading lawyers in that field. And so I bang, bang, bang on his door, applied for every single position that came up, applied for a paralegal position that I was so under-experienced for. But, ended up securing a secretary role with him. And yeah, I said, just again, the exposure that I got just typing Travis's dictations, I just loved it. And then it was probably at that point where I thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is solely what I want to do. I think the reason for that is that in personal injury law specifically, and I can't speak to a lot of other areas, but I feel as though we are so privileged to be able to advocate for someone who's suffered some injury or they've had some accident that's so debilitating that they need help to access their areas of more areas of recourse. And I think that we're so privileged to be trusted with someone, with their life, moving forward. So I think that's what makes me passionate, is that I just genuinely do feel that I'm helping somebody in their time of need. And I think I speak to so many clients that will often say that they had no idea that they could lodge a CTP claim. They were involved in a motor vehicle accident and they weren't at fault, and now they've injured their neck, for example. And so you will get feedback from clients to say, "Oh, I had no idea that I could do this. I had no idea." And it's just in that itself, you're really helping someone access compensation that they had no idea that they were entitled to. And that's life-changing. That could change someone's life completely.
Yeah, it's pretty evident to see that, you're very passionate about this, and you're obviously helping people, which is great to see. And I guess it goes to show that, you do need that exposure initially to see, okay, I didn't like conveyancing, but it really does. And, I'm really enjoying the personal injury stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like young people really need to get out there, especially when you're in law school, even if you go in, do a day a week here at this firm and that firm. I just said to the guy we've got doing PLT at our firm, he's only working part-time as well as doing like his couple of days with us. I said to him, I'm like, go put your hand up for everything, go get exposure, like you learn soon enough what you do and what you
Absolutely. I mean, in saying that too, I mean, I did conveyancing for probably, I don't know, maybe 18 months or so. And, while it was towards the end, I thought, it's the same thing over and over again. But in saying that, later on down the track, that knowledge is so helpful. I mean, at the moment, my partner and I have just purchased a block of land, and I know what I'm doing. I understand, the way that the titles registry works, and the delay that's involved in terms of lodging a plan with council and actually getting approval on the land registering. So that knowledge is so useful, and I just don't think that you could volunteer, or you could get some work experience a day a week or whatever, and that whatever you learn there, that's so not wasted. Even if you choose never to practice in that area, you will look back and there will be times in your career where you'll go, oh, I'm so glad I know that. Yeah. I just think that when you first come out of uni, it's so hard to get a job anyway. It's so hard to get a foot in the door because there is just so many of us. And, there's just not as many roles available. But certainly if you're able to, volunteer your time or get some work experience, just get in there, get down in the trenches, really absorb as much as you can. I think that that's invaluable completely.
I completely agree, and it's also about just getting your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like people get hundreds of pieces of paper every day. If you can put a hand up and put a face to that piece of paper, it's going to make all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So we've spoken on obviously the stresses of the job. I guess, how do you deal with that day to day?
Gosh, whenever you ask a young lawyer, how's work? Doesn't everyone say, oh, busy? Is that not just
that's pretty common.
Yeah, isn't it? And we are. I mean, I think, we are so keen to get into it, get stuck in and want to do the work. I suppose we're the most motivated types of people. But, with that comes, the knowledge or I suppose having the understanding in yourself that I have a capacity for work. I have a capacity for relationships. I've got a capacity for my friends, capacity for my hobbies. And so they're all, the way I see it is they're all like pots, and you've got so big of a pot for work and you've got so big of a pot for hobbies, etc. And so, you've only got so much sand. You can't fill up everything. You can't spend all of your time on everything. There's only so many hours in a day. And so I think I've really tried this year to say my capacity for work at the moment is quite large because I love it. I've just got a brilliant opportunity. I'm trying really hard to absorb everything out of it. But because my capacity for work at the moment is quite big, my capacity for hobbies, things I enjoy, has to take a knock, has to take a little bit of a hit. And, that will change, and I hope it does. And it will move. It'll have to be fluid. But I think we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves in terms of, be aware of when you're spreading yourself too thin. Certainly I've had in the past where I've said, oh, I really can't go to that birthday, I'm really sorry. And I've done that so many times. And I think, at some point you've got to, work out your capacities, work out your week and say, right, I've got that birthday party on Saturday. Maybe I have to do some things during the week to be able to really be there in mind and body. So I suppose the answer to the question is I really try and just remember that I've only got so many hours in a day. I cannot do everything. I cannot be across everything. And if I was, I wouldn't be present and wouldn't be any good at any of them, really. I just think that we need to not be so hard on ourselves about doing things like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And do you feel like as a young lawyer there is pressure on you to work extended periods, or not so much?
I think I put the pressure on myself. I don't really think, I've always been really fortunate to have the most wonderful mentors and bosses and managers. I've just been really fortunate, and certainly I've never felt the pressure to work a 12-hour day. Never felt that. But what I do think is I certainly put that pressure on myself. I think young lawyers do. I think you want to make a name for yourself as quickly as possible and be the person that people look at and go, wow, they're a hard worker, or they've come so far. I think we just put that pressure on ourselves because we want to show our bosses and managers that we can do it, and we're passionate and we really want to be here. But as I said, I think that we should all just take a breath sometimes, not be so hard on ourselves, and go, you know what, at some stage doing our best, that's more than good enough.
Yeah, that's so true. And I guess when we do get to that stage of, we push ourselves to that extra hour work, and we come to the weekend, we realise we're burnt out. We've got no time for anything else.
Totally.
So that's one thing I've been really trying to focus on this year. Obviously, trying to balance it, do enough to make sure all my work's done, but as well as take the time out and go home and spend time and relax and try not to think about work.
And I don't think that anyone expects us to work every single day of the year and 12 hours out of the day. I don't think anyone expects us to do that. I think you should take leave, take it, and take a long weekend every now and then, recharge, because you'll be so much better when you come back the next week. You'll be on the top of your game. You'll be better than you were had you not taken that day off. You'll do a better job. And so I think that we all just need to, take a breath and just not be so hard on ourselves. While it's like a really important stage of your career, you've got to look after yourself. Otherwise, the next stage of your career may not happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. I watched that movie Click last night about how he skips through, just working, and then before you know it, he's old and he passes away. This is such an underrated movie, and it's so predominant. Like, all of us are just trying to work and move forward in our lives that we often forget to watch what we're doing in the meantime. And so what outside of law do you have passion for? Like, what hobbies? And how do they, help and take you away from work and clear your mind?
So at the moment, I am picking taps and tiles and carpets and paint colours. So every spare moment that I have at the moment, I'm trying to get into display homes and take pictures of architraves and skirting boards. So I'm really loving that, and that's going to be such a long process. But I think maybe if I wasn't a lawyer, I think I'd probably be like an interior designer.
That's my next question.
Yeah, I just answered it for you. But I don't think I'd be, I don't know, I probably wouldn't be particularly very good, but I'm just loving doing that at the moment. So I think probably, I'd do something in, a bit more physical, a bit more build stuff, I think that's what I'm spending a lot of time doing at the moment. I'm trying to be cognizant of the fact that we all need to get up from the desk and go for a walk, go for a run. I'm trying to get into the spin class like 2 or 3 times a week to move, because I think we spend a lot of time chained to the old desk, and we all need to, do something for movement to be able to, properly be able to engage. So, trying to spend a bit more time up and about.
Active.
I think so.
I'm in the same boat. I try and get up as much as possible. Get steps in.
Good for your brain.
Yeah, and the ball back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, my last question is, what advice do you have for young lawyers who are looking to jump on board for a legal career?
I think the first thing that I would say is don't be afraid to stuff it up or get things wrong. I think so many of us, we go through school and we go through university and, we take tests and exams, do assignments, and, the right answers you get points for, and the wrong answers you get penalised for. I think that's so different when you come out and you try and you get a job. And I know I've written draft advices before and they've come back and this wasn't quite right. No, that's actually the wrong case. Or that's actually, the wrong legislation. And I think, we shouldn't be so frightened to get things wrong like that because, guilt or feeling a bit silly, they're such unproductive feelings. They don't motivate you to grow or to learn or to expand. And so I just think that, don't be afraid to stuff it up or get it wrong. Use every single little line through your words or little cross next to it. Use it all as a motivation or at least a point where you can say, I've learned from that, I've absorbed that, moved on, and just keep going with it. No one can say, I think, in their career that they've got everything right all the time. They never got a thing wrong. But I know myself, I've certainly got work back and I've gone, is this for me? Am I doing it right? Am I really in the right place? And so I think, don't be afraid of doing that. Just use it as an area to be able to grow. I think the next piece of advice, as we talked about before, is just get out there, send some letters into your community legal services. Ask whether you can do a couple of hours, sit in on some client appointments. Certainly let it drop around all the firms that are local to you and just ask whether you can make some coffee and sit in on telephone calls, because all that exposure is so invaluable. You'll just learn so much from it. And even if you are doing a bit of photocopying, have a read of the court documents while you're photocopying them, because you will learn. It's so invaluable. Last thing, make a LinkedIn. Oh my goodness, I had no idea how the strength and the power that's in LinkedIn. It's incredible. I mean, I'm trying to put some more content, thoughts and blogs and that sort of thing on LinkedIn. And I think it's really hard to do when you start off. You think, what do I know about anything? I'm new. I'm trying to learn off of everybody else. But the thing is that it's just such good exposure, and there is this community on LinkedIn that I never knew existed. I think employers are looking at people that stand out on LinkedIn. So if you're posting and you're saying, wow, this decision got handed down today, wow, this is what I think, or this is my comments, or this is really interesting. You're in their face, as we talked about before. There are lots of firms now that are probably getting 100, 200 resumes. But if someone's seen you and you're liking and you're commenting and whatnot, you're already front of mind. And so I think, get on LinkedIn, start, getting connected to people, firms within your area, and just, start being a bit active on there. I never, ever knew the power of LinkedIn. It's amazing, and would recommend 100% to anyone that's at uni or has just finished uni, even someone that's thinking about going to uni. Get on LinkedIn, see if you can volunteer or do some work experience. It's invaluable.
Yeah, that's so true. And a lot of people I've obviously spoken to through the podcast, I've just messaged out of the blue, and most of them are up for a chat. Doesn't matter what stage of career you're in, they're up for a chat, up for a coffee, up for advice, whatever. And then just touching on the error, like making mistakes one, I think a lot of us obviously take it to heart that it's hit at our intelligence. Like we feel like, okay, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was. I've just done 4 years of uni, but I still can't write a top letter. But when in actual fact, we should think of it as that is due to our inexperience. Like we don't have enough experience in that area. I think that's what we need to work forward on.
And that's not negative. That's not to say, oh, I don't have a lot of experience in this particular area. That's not a negative thing. That's absolutely, and that's a motivator to change and to grow and to go, right, yeah, no, I didn't really get that. I'm going to read a bit more into it. You know, that's not negative. And it's taken me a while to turn my mind around that way. So I think too often we just think, oh, I got it wrong. Whereas, you know, to be able to look at it in a different light and go, right, yeah, got that wrong. Why? I don't know. I'm going to know. I'm going to figure it out so I don't get it wrong. Or I'm going to figure it out because I can identify that that's a bit that maybe I'm inexperienced in. But yeah, I think just don't take it as a negative. Don't be afraid to make an error, to make a mistake. Just don't be afraid to do that. I think everyone that you meet, every lawyer, every barrister that you meet, they've all been in your position at some point. Everyone really understands that it's really hard to start with and to come out of uni where you're fresh-faced and you know all the principles and the theories, but gosh, the world of practice is a whole new world and is a whole new step. You know, just be open to, making those mistakes and then just growing from that.
Yeah, that's all such great advice. Well, thanks so much for jumping on with me. It's been fantastic talking to you and hearing your advice and the famous admission story.
Thank you for having me.
It's not a problem.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to the Young Lawyer Podcast. If you found this content useful or enjoyable, make sure you share it with your family, friends, or colleagues. Let's grow the Young Lawyer community. If I can ask you a huge favour, can you please leave a review or a comment on iTunes and subscribe to the YouTube channel, so that way we can grow the community even further. Until next time, guys.